Why companies are building everything twice. Something strange is happening inside some of the world's largest companies. Executives are spending billions of dollars building factories they may never need. They're hiring backup suppliers they hope they'll never use. They're creating duplicate production systems for emergencies that may never happen. At first glance, it makes no sense. For decades, modern business followed a simple rule: eliminate waste. If one supplier could do the job, you didn't need two. If one factory worked, building another was a waste of money. Efficiency was everything. The global economy became a machine designed to produce more while spending less, and for a long time it worked. Products became cheaper, profits soared, consumers benefited. But hidden inside that success was a dangerous assumption: the assumption that the world would remain predictable, that ships would keep moving, governments would keep cooperating, trade would keep flowing, and supply chains would always work. Then executives started asking a different question. Not, how can we make this cheaper? But, what happens if it stops working? Imagine running a company worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Your entire business depends on a supplier located thousands of miles away. Everything looks perfect, until one day it isn't. A political dispute, a trade restriction, a transportation disruption. Suddenly, a single weak link can bring an entire operation to a halt, and that's when the logic of globalization began to change. For years, businesses optimized for efficiency. Now they're optimizing for resilience. Those are not the same thing. Efficiency rewards concentration. Resilience rewards redundancy. Efficiency says build one factory. Resilience says build two. Efficiency says use the cheapest supplier. Resilience says have a backup. And that's exactly what companies around the world are doing. Not because it's profitable, because it's safer. Factories are being duplicated, supply chains are being diversified, production is spreading across multiple countries, billions of dollars are being spent preparing for scenarios that may never happen. Think about that. Some of the smartest executives on earth are willingly accepting higher costs, not because they know what's coming, but because they're no longer certain about what comes next. That may be the most important economic shift of our time, because this isn't really a story about factories, it's a story about trust. For decades, the global economy ran on the belief that tomorrow would look a lot like today. That belief is fading, not disappearing, but weakening. And when trust changes, behavior changes. When behavior changes, investment changes. And when investment changes, the future changes. Most people won't notice this transformation. There won't be a historic speech, no dramatic announcement, no single moment where the world suddenly looks different. Instead, the change is happening quietly, one supplier at a time, one factory at a time, one boardroom decision at a time. Years from now, historians may look back and realize that one of the biggest stories of this era wasn't a war, it wasn't an election, it wasn't even a technological breakthrough. It was the moment the world's largest companies stopped building for efficiency alone and started building for uncertainty. Because when the smartest companies on Earth begin building everything twice, they're revealing something important, not what they know, but what they fear. And the real question isn't why they're spending billions of dollars. The real question is, what are they preparing for? So what exactly are they preparing for? To understand that, we need to look beyond factories and boardrooms. Because the real story isn't about manufacturing, it's about the world itself. For most of the last 3 decades, businesses operated under a simple assumption: the global economy was becoming more connected every year. Countries traded with one another. Companies built international supply chains. Products crossed borders without much concern. The system wasn't perfect, but it was predictable. Today, predictability is becoming harder to find, and that's forcing companies to confront a possibility that would have sounded extreme just a few years ago. What if the world is no longer moving toward a single global economy? What if it's moving toward two, not two separate planets, not two completely isolated systems, but two powerful economic spheres operating under different priorities, different risks, and increasingly different rules? For a long time, businesses only cared about one thing: Where can we make this cheaper? Now they're asking something else. Which side of the system can we depend on? That question is quietly reshaping investment decisions around the world. A company that once relied entirely on one country is now expanding into several. A manufacturer that once had a single production hub is creating multiple ones. A business that once optimized for efficiency is now optimizing for flexibility. The goal is no longer to build the cheapest system. The goal is to build a system that can survive uncertainty. And uncertainty is everywhere. Political tensions, trade disputes, technology restrictions, competition over critical resources. None of these problems stop global business overnight, but together they create something more powerful: doubt, and doubt changes behavior. Imagine you're responsible for a company whose products generate billions of dollars every year. Would you place your future in the hands of a single supplier, a single country, a single transportation route? Probably not. Neither would your competitors. That's why we're witnessing one of the largest reorganizations of economic activity in modern history. Not because companies are abandoning globalization, but because they're preparing for a version of globalization that looks very different from the one that built the modern world. In the old system, efficiency was the ultimate advantage. In the emerging system, adaptability may be even more valuable. The companies that thrive won't necessarily be the cheapest, they'll be the most resilient, the most flexible, the most prepared. And this shift extends far beyond corporate strategy. Because when businesses change where they invest, entire regions change. New factories create new jobs. New supply chains create new economic centers. Countries that were once peripheral become increasingly important. Others discover that past advantages no longer guarantee future success. In many ways, the map of the global economy is being quietly redrawn, not through wars, not through treaties, but through thousands of individual decisions made by executives trying to reduce risk. Most people won't notice these changes immediately. They happen gradually. A factory opens here, a supplier moves there, an investment is redirected somewhere else. Each decision seems small, but together they tell a much bigger story, a story about confidence, about uncertainty, and about a world that may be entering a new economic era. The biggest mistake would be assuming that these companies are reacting to what's happening today. They're not. The most successful companies in the world rarely spend billions preparing for the present. They spend billions preparing for the future. And when thousands of executives across multiple industries begin making the same decision at the same time, it's worth paying attention. Because they may be responding to a question that hasn't fully reached the public yet. What if the world ahead is fundamentally different from the world behind us? What if the age of maximum efficiency is ending? And what if the next era belongs not to those who move fastest, but to those who are prepared when the unexpected arrives?